Alright, we've got 3 packages to go through, and I can't grab this pair of scissors. So I better be very careful using them here. There we go. But, we've got 3 packages. So we'll begin with the big one. Nothing else in there. Hidden receipts. Next, right stuff. Thing. If they right stuff, Crunchyroll. Either or. This is a web novel now in print. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. Interesting. And then one thing from Anne. So to begin with, we have My Hero Academia Season 7 Part 1. Let's see, regions A and B. English and Japanese dub. No one's an extra. Plus is there. Plus ultra. I don't think I read that right. But let's get into it and take a peek at the inside. The show's not over yet, is it? It still has a little bit to go. With a loose disc. Loose disc. But what did we begin with? Were those... Three loose discs. Okay. Well, Blu-ray 2, Blu-ray 1, DVD 1. Okay, so in theory I should be more careful with these DVD ones because they're a little more prone to being able to be scratched. And then DVD 2. Huh. Okay, I think I see what they did with the artwork there. Interesting. What is that? Paper. Armor Shop for Ladies and Gentlemen. Complete collection. This is from, what's the name of this company that I think is releasing both here and in Europe? I do believe that that's what that means. Let's get this open and take a look. I see a region A and B. Crunchyroll, that thing. Crunchyroll. The name doesn't strike me as familiar, so I've definitely never seen it there, ladies and gentlemen. What am I looking for? I'm looking for subtitles English. Okay, season 1. So complete series. There's at least 2 seasons there. Am I not processing a running time? It seems short. Running time 177 minutes for 24 episodes. Doing the math, that's like 5 minutes per, I think. About. Seasons 1, 2, and OVAs. So if there's also OVAs, then that math is a little off, but you know, that's about the Impact. Interesting. Next up we have Windbreaker. There's a guy with a windbreaker who actually looks kind of cool. Okay. Reminds me of the old Aniplex stuff. This is an Aniplex, is it? Aniplex. Okay, so that would be why it reminds me of the old Aniplex stuff. Because it is Aniplex. I don't see a region. That looks a little unhinged. Intriguing. Neat characters. But I'm not even quite sure what this is about. Okay. Flipping through that art book. I didn't pick up anything. I guess that's more than an art book. This is the actual just art book, maybe? It's another character. Intriguing. Guess I would have to take this out to look at the image behind. I honestly have no idea what to make of this. It's got interesting looking character designs, but I'm not sure what it's about. And then we have X-Arm. There's a lot of things about this that looks fascinating. I thought this was also... No. This one was... that same logo thing. So, this comes up. Can I see anything here? Audio, Japanese, subtitles English, Japanese with English subtitles, okay. Regions A and B, running time, 300 minutes, probably with 12 episodes. 4 art cards and a poster. Well, don't mind if I do. Those feel like the art cards. Like, something about the name feels familiar, but I can't for the life of me say that I recognize anything about this art and character design. I can say that it's neat looking. Huh. Okay, and I know it's sideways on the camera, but it is what it is. It's very ominous. I don't think it's actually a spider, but that spider-looking thing, which, who knows, may actually end up being a spider. Intriguing. Alright, well, here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, we've got a lot of stuff to go through, so why don't we begin... Normally I do the Friday stuff first because I put that at the top of the list, but why don't we move that to the end and begin with the anime, especially since there's a lot of final episodes that aired. Maybe also one that I forgot to watch before I started recording this, but I need to get this evening moving, so I guess I'm saving that. So, beginning after the end, episode 12. I guess it was a thing. It didn't feel like it was necessarily leading to it, that it's necessarily set up for leading to anything that felt like anything really resolved. I guess the show just sort of was for the length of these 12 episodes. And I thought they were more okay than I think the rating would have you think, but yeah, overall, it was. Two Perfect Saint, episode 12. I guess it was an okay ending. I wouldn't call it good or great. And I think some people could say it's good. there could be some personal preference there. But for me, I guess the problem was that it wrapped things up. And so in that regard, it's okay, maybe good. But the main problem is it lacked impact. And I would say it's mostly because the way it ended, the way it wrapped up, I don't feel like it was tied into the show so much as it was just I guess it's time for us to end this and let's give the main character a freebie to a certain extent. Which is unfortunate because there was stuff set up so that maybe could have done more than that, but you know, it was what it was, and it wrapped up all its neat ends. So I guess we have the show, and I don't think we have to worry about if it would maybe have a second season that would be mishandled or anything like that, because I think it just told its little story, and you know, I think it had its positive moments, and it was pretty watchable, I thought. A Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows, episode 12. That's right, because there was that thing set up at the end of episode 11, and then all this stuff that was in there that happened, and I guess similarly okay. It is tying stuff together into more, I guess there's some related behind-the-scenes stuff. That, I guess, is an antagonistic force to our main character. But I guess it was what it was. I'd say purpose-wise, it felt better than beginning after the end. And I think it ended on a better note just because it did have that, I guess, thoughtful, thought-provoking. I don't know if that, I think that's a little stronger. But it did at least have that ponderingly forward direction at the end of the season or series would suggest would go on after that. Anyways. Okay, stuff, I guess. Let's see. Tagonia episode 11 was not the last episode in that series. Yeah, the camera, I guess I've got the camera pointed a little high. Y'all can't even see the anime girl on the shirt, but I digress. Anyways, what can I say about episode 11? I guess it's okay. It feels like it's going to end this season / core with I guess a notable bump. And I think it's brought elements of what it set up together okay. Well, yeah, it's just kind of okay doing its own thing. I think no Apothecary Diaries this week, which I guess I'm a little surprised. Not because I could have wondered if maybe like things would have been delayed here in the States just because of Juneteenth, or if maybe there wasn't a dub this week because of it or something like that. But instead, there also didn't appear to be another subtitle episode, and I think there's maybe supposed to be a couple more. It's hard to tell where I'm at because while it could wrap things up, I didn't think it necessarily would per se. But at least there wasn't a new dub episode, even though it indicated that it was updated, but I guess it wasn't a new dub for the new episode I would watch. So, you know, hopefully it isn't it just got dropped by everybody. Because even if the dub was dropped, going to the subtitle would be fine. But yeah, none of that. Old Country Bumpkin, I forgot was on my list of things to watch today. I thought it was only 2 things on my list, but it was actually 3 things because I hadn't watched the final episode of that. Which is unfortunate because episode 11 ended with a setup that I thought was a little, maybe not obvious, but I thought it was the direction it was hinting at in it. So yeah, that's exactly where I'm hinting. So still gonna watch the next episode, which could very easily be a season or core finale or something like that. So yeah, Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire episode 12. I guess a lot of fun stuff in it. As predicted, you know, it was a wrap up to what happened in the previous episode and a wrap up to this season series in general, and I thought it ended at a fine place, I guess. And I think this is a show that I kind of reminisce on, interestingly. So, like, I don't remember if I complained about the first episode and the 3 laws of made robotics, and if maybe the show thought it was being clever by referencing that and using those, it's hard to tell, because that came up again, and making a good callback to the beginning of the show. But I'm still bothered by them conceptually, period, because the main character kind of had a bit of a reverence for them, and maybe that's supposed to be a comical reverence, but ultimately Isaac Asimov spent most of his books writing about why this interesting idea he came up with was full of shit. Why it wouldn't work, why it might not work, why it would defy our expectations, things like that. But the show isn't really trying to be that smart. I mean, it does a lot of stupid things that it's like, yeah, I know this is stupid, I'm just doing this because. And so there was that. I haven't commented all through this season, but you have people from the main character's empire who get together at a bar, and it's actually just been really fascinating watching the show come back to them through their eyes here and there. And the last episode's like, yeah, and we're ending on that too, and I thought that was a fun aspect to the show. So overall, it was a show that looked like it had an interesting premise, had a launch that made it look like it would just be complete dog shit, and then it turned out to actually be enjoyable, I thought. So a bit of a roller coaster of an opinion there. Good stuff. Reincarnated as a neglected noble. Friend episode. It's okay, I think. I'm not sure if I have much else to comment on. I'm trying to think. I guess it is setting up for a bit of a season or core finale, so okay. Nothing too exciting, but something that's I'd still say is kind of interesting. Good stuff. And then Sword of the Demon Hunter, episode 3, which ended this season. Part of me hopes this season it ended with stuff that called back to the beginning quite strongly, and I think the setup they had from the previous episode, all of it, came off pretty well, especially in a Sword of the Demon Hunter sort of way. Because there's always the risk that it could, change its tone from what it kind of established it was from episode 2 on, I suppose. And I don't think it did. But I think it also tied things together in terms of maybe not completing things, and not like Apothecary Diaries, where it's like every episode in that one feels like, even if it's an episode that doesn't feel like it has much relevance to the plot, I guess, it still gets there somehow. But I digress. Anyways, pretty good, I guess. Alright. Now, making steps beyond that, with my Friday friend, we watched Dragon Ball Daima episodes 5 through 8, and all fun episodes. I think watching these back to back, it's just like, yeah, this is what some of the stuff that made Daima fun. Also listening to that opening song every time, I sway to it and hum to it whenever it's on, so I just can't skip it. I like it. It hits something special, interestingly enough. Anyways, and then for some reason I did start watching an anime, Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun. I've seen the first 4 episodes of it, and actually it's off to a fun start. I guess I was a little bit worried that it was one of those shows where it leans on, there's this misunderstanding and the main character just keeps getting misunderstood. And I think there's a tiny slice of it to that, but I think it plays with the trope better than anything because there's also actual meat there. Like, our main character actually has some surprisingly competent things he's quite good at, even though he's, designed as a pushover. And there's an element of that strongly reminds me of Ice Shield 21. And I don't know how many of y'all have heard of that or seen it, but the basic idea is that they're both pushovers, but because of their pushoverness, they actually are pretty good at certain things. Ice Shield 21, he's just really good at navigating through a crowd, like supernaturally so, which is why he's really good at running back in that football team. And in Iruma-kun, he's just been put in so many nasty situations. He's actually really good at just dodging incoming things. for lack of better terms. And it's not just that, there's more to it than that, but I think with that as its base, it's actually off to a pretty good start with 4 episodes in. And this is one I've been curious about. It's just got some intriguing character designs that you can see from the outside, say, well, I wonder what the show is doing with those characters. And it's rated pretty well, and I can say that the reason for that is probably that even if it's not like normally your thing, it's like, I think you can look at it and say, oh, actually, I guess it's doing a pretty good job of executing with the material that it just gave us. So, good job. I do plan to have more of it, especially since it's like a dubbed show I can have on in the background while I'm still doing Terraria stuff. Granted, I'm still doing Terraria stuff and it's being slow. But, we've got all that. But let's talk about the other thing, which is the Amazing Digital Circus Episode 5. Which is their 6th episode because they had the pilot and then episodes 1, 2, 3, if I remember correctly. And episode 5 I thought was actually entertaining. Maybe not the best of what Amazing Digital Circus has so far. But that's because episode 4 just really fucking hit hard. In a way that was quite surprising. And it was really interesting reading some of the reviews online, looking at the 1-stars and thinking, I feel like these people don't get it. Like, I can agree that some of the comedy could be maybe along the brain rot spectrum, but that doesn't change the fact that a well-executed joke is a well-executed joke. And people that say that there's no purpose to the show are, I think they're a little confused, because it's not all about Pomni's existentialism. It extends beyond that, and it's just also an exploration into things. Like, I think episode 4 and Gangle and Depression are kind of an example, and I mean, there's elements of that I would say is a little on the nose, I don't know, but that doesn't change the fact that it was actually still quite intriguing, fun, excellent. And again, it just, when the feels do the feels, it does a great job. When the laughs do the laughs, it does a good job. And maybe that's not for everybody. I think there's plenty of people out there who could just say 1-star, but it was just interesting that, I would read somebody that just like, there's no point to any of this, just don't bother watching it. And I don't know, I guess it's interesting that those are given so many thumbs up, because they don't feel like good reviews. They don't really give you any insight into why that person thought that. Whereas plenty of the 5-stars that get bunches of helpful thumbs up tend to tell you, okay, yeah, I really like the way these characters, you can look at them and you say, okay, yeah, they embody that, and their voices embody that, and the timing of the jokes is fun. Anyways, you don't have to like Amazing Digital Circus, but if you're gonna leave a 1-star review, it would be nice to kind of gain more thought or more insight into your thought, I guess. Otherwise, it just looks like there are people who are sourpusses or something weird like that, which is strange because I don't think most of these people are, but I do think that maybe people who aren't as introspective maybe have trouble connecting with certain elements of this show. I think I'm overthinking things a little bit, especially since I'm a little bit worried because I forgot to charge the camera battery from last week, and I do see it's starting to get low. So maybe I should wrap things up. And yes, you did hear me correctly. I am still doing Terraria stuff. There's just so many little things to collect and little things to do. It's not like I'm trying to get all the banners and line them all up in one place or anything like that. Of course I'm not doing that. But, yeah. Fun stuff. I know what I just said doesn't sound fun, but, sometimes it's about putting it on in the background while I'm doing other things, I guess. It's a weird way to put it. Anyways, let's wrap this all up. If there's anything else to talk about, it's I haven't played much Dead by Daylight with Springtrap's release, but I do like watching some of the people play Glitch Trap. But I don't remember if that released last week or the week before. It's Terraria. It all blurs together. But again, just wanting to say that watching somebody play as Glitch Trap, I really like how demented, dark, and scary
action there is, and he in the menu is one of the spookier things, which says a lot because the Sadako jump scares did not unnerve me as much as glitch traps. Likewise, the female ghoul person, which makes me think I did talk about this last week. She's creepy in the menus, but glitch trap is kind of close to that. So he's kind of like not as creepy as her, but then more unnerving because of the jump scares, which I feel work better than Sadako. And they don't feel as jump scary as like Five Nights at Freddy's in your face sort of stuff. But I say that as somebody that never played Five Nights at Freddy's, and I just didn't want to. Various aspects of the mechanics behind it, I just really appreciate the way it, the atmosphere, watching other people do it. I think a lot of people like that. A lot of people. There was a trailer for the second movie, wasn't there? There was something else. Anyways, fun stuff. Fun stuff. But I need to wrap things up. Y'all, hope y'all had a nice Juneteenth and y'all have a nice week.